Harry Roque's temper tantrum, John Arcelia wins big, at marami pang iba. This is the Ryan Rambles Recap.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Friends, this is the Ryan Rambles Recap, the show where we talk about the most interesting things that happen in the Philippines every week. So we woke up to some very interesting news today. And it is that John Arcelia, he won the Volpe Cup. So if you don't know what this is the Best Actor Award for the Venice Film Festival. And just so you know, this is a big deal. Some previous winners of the cup include Joaquin Phoenix, William Dafoe, Sean Penn, all these really high caliber actors. And just this year, to win this award, John Arcelia beat people like Doctor Strange himself, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Poe Dameron. Yes, Oscar Isaac. He beat these people to win the award. And he won with his performance in Eric Matty's new movie, On the Job 2, The Missing Eight, which is, of course, a sequel to the first on-the-job movie that came out back in 2013. So that movie was about these contract killers. And I think every movie since then, Eric Matty has been doing these social commentary type movies. And and that movie is about contract killers, and he moved on and he made a movie about the drug war. So he made Buy Bust back in 2018, and he upped it even further because this movie is about fake news. Yes, fake news. So John Arcelia and Christopher De Leon, they play journalists who have to deal with manufactured truth. So we don't know a lot about the movie yet. But I hope that they talk about troll farms and social media algorithms, things like that, especially now that it's election season. I feel like it's so important that people be aware of those things going into the 2022 elections. So I'm so excited for this. Apparently, the first 3 episodes dropped today. So it's being released as like a mini series on HBO Go. So the first 2 episodes are going to be basically the first movie. So it's going to be an edited version of On the Job 1. And then episodes 3 to 6 are the new movie. So episodes 1, 2, and 3 drop today. And then every Saturday for the next, I think, 3 Saturdays, we're going to get a new episode. So if you don't have HBO Go yet, if you don't have HBO Go yet, go get it. I feel like this series is going to be awesome, and I for sure would love to see it. Okay, but speaking of awards, lumpia apparently was ranked the best Filipino food, I guess, ever by Taste Atlas. And a lot of Filipinos were, I wouldn't say angry about this, but were upset, to say the least. They said that it was probably a white man who came up with this list, and they were not wrong. The list was, or I guess Taste Atlas was conceptualized by a Croatian journalist. So yes, it was a white man's doing. And I feel like we shouldn't look at this list and these dishes as the best that the Philippines has to offer. You know, I feel like this is a good introduction, you know, a good taste test to see what Filipino food is all about. Like, look at these dishes: lumpiang Shanghai, tocino, sinigang. These are things that are so easy to eat. Because if you think about the types of dishes that people suggested, things like Bicol Express or kare-kare, I feel like if you are someone who eats Filipino food for the first time and your taste buds aren't adjust to the Filipino flavors yet, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. But these dishes are very, very easy to digest. Okay, but when you go to the worst ones, I feel like these dishes are the dishes that foreigners fear the most. I would say first up is, of course, balot, the infamous balot, which to us it's not so bad. Like it tastes pretty good. Yung soup especially is really good. But you know, you grow up watching TV and you see Japanese cuisine or French or Italian on MasterChef or Iron Chef or whatever cooking show you like. But you see your food, you see balot on Fear Factor. And you're just cringing at these people who are vomiting or they just smell it tapos nasusuka na. diba? And you think like, what, they're gonna get paid like all this money just to eat this food that I eat anyway? But when you think about it, and when you hear about balut for the first time, diba? It's fertilized duck egg. It sounds kind of gross. And I think same goes for dinuguan. And dinuguan's awesome, by the way. I love eating it. But when you just hear about it, diba? It's black, and it's color black, and it's basically blood stew, right? I mean, it can seem gross to people who see it for the first time. So I have no problem with this list. I think it's good for foreigners who want to try Filipino cuisine. I have one problem. My only problem is they put pinipig here, which doesn't make sense to me. Pinipig is basically Rice Krispies, right? It's like if you have an American list, the best food, you put burgers, ribs, whatever, and then you put like sprinkles there, right? It doesn't make sense at all. But if you really want to talk about gross things, let's talk about this thing. The new political tandem that was just launched. Netizens are calling it pisot. And if you don't know what pisot is, it means uncircumcised or supot, essentially. Okay? And I think this is perfect. This is a perfect name for these two guys. Because the entire time they announced their candidacy, they were just talking about how bad Duterte is and how bad of a job Duterte was doing. And don't get me wrong, it's fine if you want to talk about those things. That's like my favorite hobby, talking about the things Duterte did wrong. But you can't talk about his corruption and his lack of good leadership when you're also enabling his government. Let's not forget that these guys, they voted to oust Senator Lala de Lima, and they pretty much supported the drug war until it wasn't convenient for them anymore. So I don't know if they have an actual shot of winning vice president and president, but I do know that a word you can describe them is turncoats, right? And I know the history doesn't look fondly at turncoats. You think about Pedro Paterno, right? Pedro Paterno is the first ever Filipino who wrote a novel, the first Filipino novelist. But people don't think about that. They don't know that because they just think of him as a turncoat. And we can't talk about turncoats without talking about Harry Roque. This guy used to be a powerful force for good. He was an advocate for human rights. He represented victims of the Ampatuan massacre and the parents of Jennifer Laude, a trans woman who was killed by a member of the American military. But everything changed when he became the spokesperson. And this week, he actually threw a tantrum at a bunch of medical professionals. So let's watch it.
Government approach, thinking about economic ramifications, thinking about people who will go hungry, does not mean we care any less. And let me point out to everyone, this group, they have never said anything good about government response.
They have never said anything good about government response. To me, he sounds like a thesis student or just like a student in general who submits homework to the teacher, diba? Tapos sabi niya sa teacher, wala kang magandang nasabi. And all you submitted was garbage, diba? So kung basura naman yung bibigay mo, malamang basura yung trato ng teacher sa'yo. And this is exactly it. But like, what it is the government response? It's basically just like lockdown, tapos pag lockdown, tapos ease the lockdown after a few months, tapos pag malalan ulit yung cases, lockdown ulit. So you can't do that and just wait for things to get better and ask for a pat on the back, right? It's so crazy, and it's so bad here that there are actually only 2 countries in the world. As of the end of September, there will only be 2 countries in the world that have not yet reopened schools since the pandemic began. These 2 countries are Venezuela and the Philippines. Now, usually when you hear Venezuela and the Philippines in the same sentence, you think like, it's probably Miss Universe. It's probably top 5 or top 10 in the Miss Universe. So I guess these 2 countries have the most beautiful people in the world, but the worst in pandemic response. So it's just sad. It's sad that our future thinkers, our future decision makers, the youth today are being robbed of opportunities just because the government response is so bad, right? And I know it's kind of hard to talk about COVID all the time, and nakaka-sad na, nakakalungkot na isipin lagi yung COVID. And a lot of people have this sentiment na parang, sana nangyari na lang to 100 years ago para mabasa ko lang sa history books, diba? Or 100 years in the future, so it's my descendants who have to worry about this and not me. And I came across this quote from The Lord of the Rings. And Frodo was saying something similar na he wishes hindi nangyari to nung time niya. And Gandalf says, so do I. And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given us. So I think that's a great way to think about things. We can't control what's happening to us in the world, but we can control what to do about it. Okay? So that's it for this episode of Ryan Rambles Recap. I want to shout out everyone, every single person who commented and who watched this live. Hi to Ashley and who Retro. Okay? Retro saying he has this British step uncle who is not at all fascinated with balot. That's okay. As long as he likes other food. Okay? So again, if you like this video, please do like, you can comment and subscribe and share it with your friends. And if you have topics you want me to cover next week, let me know. You can tweet me at _Ryan Rosella. But until next week, my name is Ryan. Peace, and I love y'all.
Hoy mga Pinoy, ito na ang medisina, nagbabagong apoy, linagyan ng gasolina, kaya't tinatanong pa ba kung kanino at sino ang tiyak na puntahan sa kulturang Pilipino? Ako na ang sagot, ang dakilang gamot.